Welcome back to World News. I'd first like to apologize that we couldn't publish a video last week. But I'd also like to welcome our new subscribers once again. Thank you very much for sticking with us. Now, one last thing before the video begins. I produced parts of this video when I was still on vacation, and because of the fact that my workplace looked quite different from usually, this video's visuals will be a bit off point and you'll experience a massive hole throughout the video. But as said in our previous video of 40 seconds, our next video will be of our usual quality again. So let's finally start the video. This week we talk about our world's first steel which was produced without burning fossil fuels, the World Indigenous Peoples Day, how 1 year of Taliban-reign ruined Afghanistan, that Chinese seafood needs to be tested for COVID, and that the Japanese government tells its population to get hammered more often. So let's talk steel. Personally, I didn't think about emissions from the steel production process too much until I saw this exciting news. Apparently, steel production accounts for around 8% of global emissions, therefore being among the top 3 emission industries. But the company in Sweden now produced first steel without using fossil fuels at all. They instead used green hydrogen. The steel manufacturer SSAB said that this technique could reduce Sweden's CO2 emissions by up to 10%. But what are they doing different? To really grasp what changed, we need some insights on steel production. So, according to the World Economic Forum, traditional steel production relies on coke. No, not the white powder, but coke made from coal to extract iron from the ore soon to be steel. Then in 2016, 3 companies, among them being the previously mentioned SSAB, invented a new technology called hybrid. With this technology, the process of iron extraction is executed using green hydrogen instead of coke. And SSAB says its green steel would be a first step towards an entirely fossil fuel-free value chain. And this assumption seems pretty legit. So humanity's goal for the next year should be to introduce this technique to as many steel producers as possible. But I'm sure some really smart people are already on that. And that's good, because when we are actively trying to make it look like we aren't killing this planet, we can look our indigenous friends in the eyes when celebrating their lifestyle. Because this Tuesday, Earth celebrated the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples. On that occasion, José Gualinga of the Pueblo Originario Quichua de Sarayaku in Ecuador, I've probably mispronounced some things here and I'm sorry for that, told the world leaders about consequences of climate change like rising temperatures, floodings and a lack of fish migration, which indigenous peoples have to battle every year. He also called the politicians to, quote, make wise, coherent and fair decisions to avoid catastrophe. How much his speech will do in the end can't be said yet, but I'm afraid it won't be much, as this world's leaders have been under much pressure concerning this topic in the past. And the sad truth is, the importance of someone's message is often determined by this person's or corporation's power. So in the end, this week's Tuesday was probably just another day like every other day. And it doesn't get any better with the next topic. Actually, it's getting worse. Around 1 year ago, US troops were withdrawn from Afghanistan, leading to the Taliban, an Islamic terror organization, taking over the country. This resulted in chaos and ruined Afghanistan even further, after years of war had already left destruction and thousands of refugees. But who am I telling this to? Everyone who was alive for the last years probably knew that. So the fact that the Taliban aren't exactly feminists shouldn't be new to you as well. Well, you know, I say these kinds of things to loosen up a bit and not to ruin everyone's mood. But this was a huge understatement. At this point I'll quote the Human Rights Watch because they pretty much summed up what was going on there in the past year. Since taking control of the city of Ghazni, the Taliban have imposed rights-violating policies that have created huge barriers to women's and girls' health and education, curtailed freedom of movement, expression and association, and deprived many of earned income, quote end. On top of that, many people and children are suffering from severe malnutrition, and underage girls at ages around 9 and 11 years old are forced to marry Taliban officials. These men are often around 40 to 50 years older than the girls. And the latest incident, a protest by around 40 Afghan women marching in the Afghan capital Kabul, was broken up by Taliban fighters. Of course not by using appropriate measures, but by firing into the air. So all in all, you can't really do much more than rant about Taliban-led Afghanistan. Well, you can actually do more. There are many charities raising money to feed Afghan people, rescue girls from forced marriages, or to help otherwise. So if you want to learn more about how to donate, we'd recommend the website of the Human Rights Watch, the link to which can be found in the upper right corner or in the video description. They are focused on helping victims of human rights violations all over the entire world. And speaking of violations, I really hope that sea animals don't care about their personal space too much. Because if so, China might find itself in big trouble. Now you might wonder, how's that? Well, Chinese authorities actually started testing soon-to-be seafood for COVID-19 using normal PCR test kits as used on humans. In fact, every piece of seafood caught by Chinese fishermen needs to be tested for COVID-19 by law. The Jimei Maritime Pandemic Control Committee wrote, quote, "Pandemic control measures should be followed. All offshore maritime workers must be vaccinated before setting sail. Fishermen must be tested once a day while at sea." Now, up to this point, this sounds like good regulations. But what really bugs the internet is the second part. Continuing the quote, "When they return from the sea, both fishermen and the seafood must be tested." What? I mean, this looks way too cursed, and it's really hard to imagine that the fish like this kind of treatment. I would even go as far as saying that they don't like it too much. Apart from that, the comments under this tweet by the South China Morning Post are pure comedy. So China definitely made a fool of itself, even if this procedure works. Ooh, that was funny, but wait, I've got another funny thing a country did. Apparently, Japan's booze industry is quite weak. And what does Japan do to solve that? Well, the obvious solution is founding a campaign to make the consumption of alcohol more attractive. So, while other countries like the UK are introducing closing times for pubs to prevent their youth from binge drinking, Japan's begging its young people to drink. The Sake Viva campaign asks 20 to 39-year-olds to share their business ideas on how to kickstart Japan's booze industry. So the people that don't oppose this campaign come up with promotions, branding, and even cutting-edge plans involving artificial intelligence. Now, if you somehow want to compete, contestants have until the end of September to share their ideas, and the best suggestions will get a makeover by experts. These final ideas then will be presented in November. So for those interested and able to understand Kenji, here's the link to the Sake Viva website, which can also be found in the description. But at this point, I just wanted to tell you, don't do drugs. You know, it doesn't matter whether they are legal or not, they can still mess you up real bad, so please stay away from them. Now, that was a week of mixed feelings. We had good, interesting, sad and funny news all in one video. But the good news aren't over yet, as you'll see in this week's bonus fact. Jadav Payeng, an Indian farmer, witnessed a flourishing oasis on Majuli Island, India, becoming wasteland. That was because humans cut down many trees, therefore destroying this biotope. But he didn't just accept that. He took matters in his own hands and started planting one tree every day for 37 years. That's something around 13,514 trees. That's crazy. But this way, he single-handedly built a forest twice the size of Central Park, which animals soon discovered. Now, over 100 elephants and tigers, rhinos and deer live in Mr. Payeng's forest. So, we see, one person alone can actually change things.